All right, let me guess. You've been daydreaming about raising chickens, right? Fresh eggs every morning, your own little flock wandering around the yard looking like something out of a movie. Well, buckle up because raising chickens is a lot more than collecting breakfast and pretending you live on a farm. If you've already searched how to raise chickens, you've probably seen all the cute stuff. Fluffy chicks, cozy coops. But there's a side to it no one tells you about, and that's where the fun really begins. First of all, chickens aren't low-maintenance pets. They're more like high-maintenance toddlers that poop everywhere and can escape faster than Houdini. And if you think they'll just give you an egg every morning like clockwork, guess again. And some days they're on strike. Other days they're laying like they're running a competition. When I started raising chickens, I thought, how hard can it be? It's just birds. What I didn't expect was waking up at 5 a.m. to the sound of one of my hens squawking like she was auditioning for the lead role in a horror movie. Turns out chickens are morning people. Very early morning people. Oh, and let's not forget the poop. There's a lot of it. And no one ever mentioned just how much cleaning is involved. If you've got a weak stomach, you might want to reconsider this whole backyard flock idea. But here's the kicker. Despite all the chaos, there's something incredibly satisfying about walking out to your coop, grabbing a still warm egg, and feeling like you've mastered this small piece of nature. Also, a quick stat for you. A single chicken can lay around 250 to 300 eggs a year. That's right. Your 6 little hens can give you upwards of 1,500 eggs annually. That's a lot of omelets. But don't start making big plans just yet. Not every hen is an egg-laying machine, and the minute it gets cold, they'll stop laying as if they're on vacation in the Bahamas. So before you run out and buy a bunch of fluffy chicks, just know it's going to get messy, noisy, and downright hilarious at times. But if you are still convinced that you can handle all that, welcome to the world of chicken keeping. Let's get started. Now, you might be thinking, chickens are chickens, right? Just grab a few and let's get cracking on those omelets. Wrong. Chickens are as diverse as the apps on your phone, and you need to pick the right one for your needs. Want eggs? There are breeds for that. Want chicken dinner? Well, different breeds for that too, and if you're indecisive like me, you might just want a chicken that does a bit of both. Let me walk you through it because no one told me, and I ended up with a breed that laid about as many eggs as a rubber chicken. First off, you've got your layers. These ladies are the egg factories. Breeds like Leghorns and Rhode Island Reds will keep your breakfast plate full, laying up to 300 eggs a year. That's a lot of scrambled eggs, my friend. Now, if you're looking to add some flair to your egg basket, check out breeds like Americanas or Easter eggers. They lay blue or green eggs. I know, right? You'll feel like you're running the Willy Wonka of chicken coops. Then, we've got the meat birds. Let's be honest, these chickens aren't winning any beauty contests. They're bred to grow fast and get, well, plump. Think of them like the bodybuilders of the chicken world. Cornish cross, for example, can go from chick to roasting pan in about 8 weeks, but don't expect them to live long. They're not exactly marathon runners. And if you're like me and you just couldn't decide, you'll probably lean towards dual-purpose breeds. These birds give you the best of both worlds, decent egg layers and enough meat for the occasional Sunday roast. Breeds like the Sussex or Plymouth Rock fit into this category. I went this route thinking I get fluffy chickens that also laid a ton of eggs. Spoiler alert, they laid eggs, just not as many as I had hoped, but they're friendly and I have yet to eat one, so that's a win. Oh, and here's something they definitely don't tell you. Chickens have personalities, like real personalities. Some are sweet, some are cranky, and some will chase you across the yard like you owe them money. So when you're picking your breed, consider that too. Unless you enjoy being stared down by a grumpy hen every time you enter the coop. Anyway, choose wisely. Your egg supply and possibly your sanity depends on it. Now that you've got your flock in mind, let's talk about where these divas are going to live, because trust me, building them a coop is like constructing a 5-star chicken resort. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty of chicken real estate. Once you've picked your feathered friends, they'll need a cozy place to call home. Trust me, letting them roam free is a recipe for chaos. One moment, they're happily scratching around your yard, and the next, they're staging a coup in the neighbor's tulips. Building a coop is like setting up a luxury resort for your chickens. First off, size matters. Each chicken requires at least 4 square feet of space in the coop. If you're planning to house 6 or more, you might find yourself constructing a mini mansion rather than a simple birdhouse. And don't forget about the run. where they'll spend their days enjoying the great outdoors. Aim for about 8-10 square feet per bird. Chickens like a little wing room. Next up is ventilation. Believe me, without good airflow, your coop can end up smelling worse than a gym locker room after a week-long workout. Make sure there are plenty of vents to keep things fresh, or you'll be dealing with a foul odor that could make even the hardiest of chickens think twice about sticking around. Now let's talk nesting boxes. If you want eggs, you'll need cozy spots for your hens to lay. The general rule is 1 box for every 3-4 hens. You'd think they just lay their eggs wherever, but oh no. Chickens will line up for the most popular boxes like they're waiting for the latest smartphone release. It's as if they believe there's a secret egg-laying prize hidden inside. And while you're at it, don't forget about predator proofing. Raccoons, foxes, and even your neighbor's overly curious dog see your chickens as an all-you-can-eat buffet. You'll want heavy-duty latches and sturdy wire fencing because those raccoons are like tiny ninjas when it comes to breaking into coops. They have the patience of a chess master, plotting their way in while you're blissfully unaware. Speaking of sneaky birds, chickens are surprisingly clever. They'll remember routines and can recognize their surroundings, including the spots where you keep their feed. But be prepared. These feathered Houdinis will test your fencing skills. You'll find yourself scratching your head, wondering how they managed to get past the secure enclosure you thought was foolproof. Creating a coop is about more than just keeping your chickens safe. It's also about giving them a comfortable space to thrive. Once your coop is set up and ready, you can move on to the next big question. What are you going to feed these fluff balls? Spoiler alert, it's not just kitchen scraps and corn. Now that your chickens are comfortably settled into their fancy new coop, you might think feeding them will be a piece of cake. Just toss them some corn and call it a day, right? Wrong. If only chickens were as easy to please as a toddler with a cookie. In reality, they need a balanced diet that's more complex than my attempts to stick to a New Year's resolution. Chickens require a mix of grains, protein, and calcium to stay healthy and produce those lovely eggs you're dreaming about. Layer feed is specially formulated for hens and packed with all the nutrients they need. Think of it as their version of a multivitamin. You can add some kitchen scraps for a treat, but beware, the little rascals are pickier than you think. They'll happily gobble up bugs, but might turn their beaks up at greens. I once served my flock some leftover salad, and they looked at me as if I'd offered them dirt. One of them even clucked, "What is this, a salad bar?" If you want to earn their love, mealworms are like chicken candy. Pull out a bag of those wriggly goodies, and you'll instantly become their favorite human. You know you're a true chicken parent when you're scrutinizing the nutritional label on their feed more carefully than your cereal. 18% protein. Does it have omega-3s? You can also spoil them with some oyster shell for extra calcium or a bit of grit for digestion. Who knew I'd be running a poultry health spa in my backyard? Feeding your chickens might sound simple, but it takes effort. Just when you think you've mastered the art of chicken cuisine, you'll find yourself staring at an empty feed bag, realizing it's time for a last-minute run to the feed store. You finally brought home your chickens, and now you're eagerly waiting for those delicious eggs. But here's the reality check. Chickens don't come with an egg button. Seriously, I've tried gently pressing them to see if that would magically produce breakfast, but all I got was some confused clucks. Chickens typically start laying eggs around 5 months old, but it's not like flipping a switch. Patience is key. Once they do start laying, you can expect about 5 to 6 eggs per week from a healthy hen. However, that number can fluctuate based on several factors, including the breed, age, and time of year. Some breeds are prolific layers, while others might be more selective about when they want to share their gifts. I had a hen who acted like a diva, laying an egg only when the mood struck her, which left me scratching my head more than once. One major factor affecting egg production is daylight. Chickens are pretty sensitive to light and need about 14 hours of daylight to lay consistently. So when winter rolls around and the days get shorter, you might find your egg basket looking a little empty. Don't be surprised if you start thinking about knitting tiny sweaters for your hens to encourage them to lay. Spoiler alert, they won't care for your fashion sense, no matter how stylish you think those sweaters look. Then there's the stress factor. If your hens are feeling anxious or uncomfortable, maybe there's a neighborhood dog barking at them or a raccoon eyeing their coop, they might decide to hold off on laying eggs for a while. I once had a hen go on strike just when I was planning a brunch for friends. Talk about bad timing. It felt like she was staging a protest for better living conditions in the coop. And let's not forget about the occasional egg-laying hiccup. If a hen is feeling off, whether due to diet changes or just her mood, she might skip a day or two. You might be thinking you'll be swimming in fresh eggs, only to find out that your hen is playing hard to get. It's like having a roommate who promises to chip in on groceries but conveniently forgets every time you go shopping. In the end, while fresh eggs are a fantastic perk of raising chickens, you'll need to adjust your expectations. Egg production is a roller coaster ride of moods, seasons, and quirks. But just when you're ready to give up hope, one of your hens will surprise you with a perfect egg, reminding you why you fell in love with these quirky birds in the first place. Now, let's move on to health and vet care, because those little feathery friends can get into all sorts of trouble if you're not keeping an eye on their well-being. Raising chickens is not just about feeding them and collecting eggs, it's also about keeping them healthy. Chickens can suffer from various health issues, including mites, worms, and even becoming egg-bound, where an egg gets stuck inside. Trust me, you don't want to be in that situation. The first time I noticed one of my hens acting strangely, I panicked and thought she was auditioning for The Walking Dead. Let's just say I quickly learned that being a chicken parent can be pretty dramatic. It's essential to keep an eye on their behavior and droppings to catch any health problems early. If your hens are pecking at their feathers, looking lethargic, or laying eggs that look like they were made during a bad science experiment, you might need a vet. But finding one who knows chickens, that's like searching for a needle in a haystack. Most vets are used to cats and dogs, so you'll need to do some digging to find one who specializes in poultry. Now let's talk about pests. Those pesky mites can invade your flock faster than your neighbor's dog can dig under the fence. These tiny critters can cause severe discomfort and even health issues. And worms? They're not just for fishing. Your chickens can get worms too. Regular deworming is essential. You don't want your hens feeling under the weather when they should be laying eggs. You might even find yourself becoming a mini expert in chicken health. Who knew it would be this complicated? The costs can add up quickly, especially if you're not prepared. Between vet visits, medications, and preventative treatments, you might end up spending more on chicken care than you anticipated. I once joked that my hens have more health issues than my Aunt Martha has conspiracy theories. And just like with people, you'll have to decide whether to splurge on their care or go for the budget-friendly option. Vaccinations are another topic. Chickens can get a variety of diseases, and while it might feel like a hassle, vaccinating them is often worth the peace of mind. Just imagine getting all your chickens lined up for their shots. You might as well grab some snacks and make a party out of it. It's all in a day's work as a chicken parent, right? Remember, a healthy chicken is a happy chicken, and happy chickens lay more eggs. Keeping your flock in tip-top shape can lead to better egg production and fewer surprises. Now that you've learned about chicken health, let's dive into the next topic: broody hens and what to do if you find yourself with a hen who has a serious case of the nesting blues. Broodiness in hens is like their version of taking a sabbatical. When a hen decides she wants to hatch eggs, she will settle down like she's trying to win a best couch potato competition. You might think, great, baby chickens are on the way. But hold your horses, not every hen is meant for motherhood. Some hens just enjoy sitting around as if they've earned a permanent vacation. It's like having that friend who claims they're going to start a business but spends all day in pajamas watching Netflix instead. Now, if you spot a hen sitting in one spot, puffing herself up and glaring at anyone who gets too close, congratulations, you've got a broody hen. She'll act like a grumpy old man watching cable news, definitely not in the mood to be bothered. And be careful, if you disrupt her too often, you might end up in the doghouse. Not literally, of course, but you get the idea. She's taken on the role of the mama, and she takes it seriously, even if her chicks are still imaginary. Here's what they don't tell you. Hatching eggs isn't all cuddly and cute. It's a full-time job, and you may need to step in. If you're planning to let her hatch eggs, it can take around 21 days for them to develop. In the meantime, you'll need to make sure she's eating, drinking, and has a comfy space. I once had a broody hen who sat on a collection of golf balls because I didn't want to deal with hatching duties. I thought it would be easier, but she took her role very seriously, clucking at anyone who dared to come near her nest. Talk about a dedicated employee. If you don't want to hatch chicks, you might need to convince her to snap out of it. A quick cold shower can work. Just kidding. A gentle way to break her broodiness is to isolate her for a while. This may sound harsh, but a little me time might do the trick. Just remember to check on her often, or she might get even grumpier, and you don't want a hen giving you the stink eye every time you walk by. And while broodiness can be a blessing if you're looking to expand your flock, it can also be a real headache if you're not prepared. Some hens are perfectly happy to hatch eggs and raise little ones, while others are more interested in the idea than the responsibility. It's like picking the right college major. Some are ready for the challenge, while others just want to nap through the whole thing. When it comes to raising chickens, let's get one thing straight. Your backyard is not a safe haven. Think of it as the Wild West, where every critter is out for a chicken dinner. Hawks, raccoons, foxes, and even snakes are all part of the local food chain, and your fluffy flock is right at the top of the menu. If you ever thought raccoons were just adorable little bandits, wait until you see them with a plan to invade your coop. They're the masterminds of the night, and they have the sneakiest skills. You might as well call them master chefs when it comes to snatching up your birds. One day, I was out in the yard admiring my flock when I spotted a hawk circling overhead. I thought, what a majestic creature. Then it hit me. Majestic, yes, but also a threat. It swooped down like it was auditioning for a reality show called Chickens, The Ultimate Challenge. I felt like a referee in a game I didn't want to be part of. That bird's eye was on my hens, and I had to act fast. I realized I needed to upgrade my defense strategy, and I wasn't talking about a simple picket fence. You might be surprised to know that even your neighbor's dog can turn into a predator. Fido may seem harmless, but once he gets a whiff of chicken dinner, all bets are off. You'll find yourself investing in fencing that looks like it belongs in a zoo. Seriously, if you end up fencing your yard like you're preparing for a Jurassic Park escape, you're not alone. It's a whole new level of protecting your flock, and honestly, it might feel like you're starring in a wildlife documentary. Here's a tip. Always keep an eye on the sky and the ground. The ground predators are often the sneakiest. I once had a raccoon that seemed to be playing a long game of hide and seek with me. I'd lock up the coop thinking I'd outsmarted him, only to find out he was back before I could finish my coffee. It was like living with a furry Houdini. You might think your flock is safe during the day, but that's when hawks are on the prowl. I started doing a little chicken head count every hour, like I was trying to prevent a prison escape. Let's not forget about the emotional toll of all this. You start feeling like a mother hen yourself, constantly worrying about your little ones. I once joked with a friend that I felt more like a chicken bodyguard than a chicken owner. I had to remind myself, it's just a flock of birds. But then again, they're not just birds, they're your birds. And that makes all the difference when you see them pecking around the yard, oblivious to the dangers lurking just beyond the fence. Once you get a grip on the predator situation, you can relax a bit. Just remember, no matter how much you love your chickens, nature will always have its eyes on them. Raising chickens is like being in a reality show that you didn't audition for. One part rewarding, one part comedy, and one part disaster management. You think you're signing up for fresh eggs and adorable fluff balls, but instead, you find yourself juggling health issues, predator alerts, and the occasional broody hen who decides it's time for a vacation from reality. In the end, these little cluckers are quirky and hilarious, and they turn your backyard into a lively sitcom. They're way more high maintenance than I ever imagined, but I wouldn't trade them for anything. Well, maybe for a week-long vacation where I don't have to chase them around the yard for the 5th time in a week. Then again, who needs a peaceful retreat when you have your very own feathered friends keeping you on your toes?